basic question, but so is there anything different or unique about prosecuting human trafficking cases than other crimes?
Absolutely. There are a lot of similarities. When you take sex trafficking, you are talking about either child sexual abuse when you're talking about a minor, or you're talking about sexual abuse of an adult. But what's different about human trafficking is usually you're talking about exploitation of that person by a third party for some gain to them, whether that is an exchange of money, whether that's for housing or rent, whether it's for drugs or any other kinds of goods. So you take kind of that core abuse and you add to it a level of being bought and sold, and usually to quite a few people. And it adds a trauma level that is incredibly significant. It also typically adds a level of violence that makes the trauma even more severe.
It's just me, so I might just go back and forth to the camera every once in a while. But what are some of the major challenges in prosecuting human trafficking?
As a prosecutor, you want to present the absolute best case that you can for the jury. You want them to see the individual who's been hurt. You want them to empathize with that person. You want them to walk in their shoes. And you want them to be able to understand the evidence in a very clear, succinct way so that they can put the pieces together and say, yes, the state has proven their case beyond a reasonable doubt. So when we're talking about trafficking, you've got victims who are often not in a healthy place in their life. Many of them do not self-identify as victims. Many of them have continuing feelings for the people that they've been involved in relationships with, because oftentimes traffickers use relationship, whether it's romantic relationships, whether it's a family type relationship that they establish. And they use that as a hook to bring people in. They use it as a way to keep you in once you're there. And they use it as a way to control. And so even when that person is abusing you, you still have feelings for them if you've created that relationship or bought into that relationship that they've created.
How, as you, branching off of that, you say, a lot of the stories I've seen, a lot of these, most of the time, young women say that, they're in a romantic relationship with this person. I'm not being trafficked. How do you, is it hard to get them to, cooperate, or to them to say, yes, I am the victim here?
Sometimes it really is, absolutely. And you will find that there are people who remain in their trafficking situations probably longer than they had to, because they've got to come to a place where they're willing to say, you know what, I am worth more than this. This is not how someone who cares about me would treat me. This is not anything that I deserve to have happen. I'm worth living a life that is full of goodness and kindness, and where people are going to treat me like a human being. I don't deserve to be used this way. That takes a long time when that's been torn down and broken down, and you've been told you're worth nothing more than what you can benefit someone else.
Why are there so many cases in Texas?
I think Texas is a huge state, right? That's the first thing. We've got a lot of people, we got a lot of land, and we've got so many different landscapes around the state of Texas. So we've got our huge cities. We've got port cities where there are access to people coming from other countries. We've got the border. But really, we have tons of individuals who are vulnerable because we are such a big state. So we've got people at every different socioeconomic level. We've got people who are coming from different areas, who don't necessarily feel a part of their community, who are transient, who are going back and forth, who are running away. We're a state where people come from other places when they run away, right? Because we're in the South and the weather's easier and they think they can make it there easier. And so I think what you see is we see a huge variety of perpetrators as well as a large population of vulnerable individuals.
How important is, so this team is pretty diverse. It's not just prosecutors like yourself. It's also, there's 5 investigators. There's a victim's advocate.
Correct.
What's important about having this kind of self-contained unit where everything's available?
You've got to have a team of people, okay? A prosecutor can't solve those problems. A prosecutor's job is to work on the case, to get it ready. The victim advocate is going to be walking alongside that individual in their journey from victim to survivor. They're going to help them get through the legal process in a way that is healthy for them. They are going to be referring them for the appropriate services. They're going to be listening to their questions and their concerns and bringing those to the prosecution for us to try to deal with. And investigators are critical, because without them, you don't have victims walking up and saying, hey, I need help. Investigators have got to be on the ground, whether it's talking to people in fields, dry cleaning shops, whether it's talking in agricultural settings, it doesn't matter. Nail salons, whether it's talking to runaway kids on the street. They've got to be out there making themselves available, looking for the evidence, finding potential victims, and then finding ways to get them out of those situations.
What are the, just got two more questions, but what are your short-term goals? I know the long-term goal would be, ending this.
Sure.
Right? But, realistically, do you have set goals that we want to see met in a year or 2 years? Or?
Well, sure. Short term, very short term, we want to get the team fully assembled, and we want them to have people who have experience in this area, but more than anything, who have a heart for the victims, regardless of where they come from, regardless of what they've done, and regardless of who they are. That's the first thing. Second of all, we want to start generating cases. That's the next thing. We want people to know that the Attorney General's office has investigators who will go all over this state, who will help law enforcement, be a support to district attorneys, who will help investigate in any way we can. Number two. Number three, we want to double or triple our training around the state. So in the last year, I've probably trained close to 4,000 people, just me, around the state of Texas. This team has the potential to double that, triple that, even quadruple that. I want to see that training component out there, whether it's in our universities, in our schools, talking to parents, talking to judges, talking to law enforcement. It doesn't matter. Anybody who will give us an ear. So that's another goal. And finally, I think what we want to do is we want to create within the state itself a machine where all agencies are human trafficking trained, where all of them are figuring out where in my agency can I reach out to a potentially vulnerable population and provide them a place to come and a place to report and a place to receive services. And we want that to be coordinated. We want there to be that protocol across the state so that people, no matter where they are, have a safe place to come and make that report and seek help.
Last question is kind of a two-part question, but what makes you passionate about this issue, and then why is it so important to make a team like this now?
Mm-hmm. What makes me passionate about it? I've met victims of human trafficking, and when you have, then you start to really care about what's going on. That's the bottom line. When you see people who are abused, when you see people who have been trampled on, when you see kids who have been sold day in and day out to people who are willing to use them for their own perverted desires, all of a sudden it becomes really real. And as a prosecutor and as a person, it is my privilege to stand and speak for those people, to say, you are worth it, your life matters, I'm going to seek justice for you. So that's why it matters to me, okay? Why should it matter to the people in the Texas public? It should matter because this could be your child. This could be your child's friend. It could be someone in your family. It could be a relative. It could be anyone that could be taken advantage in this way. That's why you should care. And you should also care because slavery is not something that is acceptable in the state of Texas. And if we don't take a stand against it, if we continue to let it be something that just kind of goes under the radar, it won't stop. It won't be eradicated.